Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. You're beautiful. I love you. And if you guys could subscribe, that'd be cool. Also, subscribe to the Tobin and Leroy show on all your podcast platforms. And you guys can watch us live every single weekday on the WQAM YouTube page. So check that on out as the Miami Dolphins are getting ready for the Los Angeles Chargers. Will have Game Day Uncensored come your way on the QAM channel. Got some new surprises, even though I feel bad this is coming at week 5 or 1-4, but we got some surprises coming your way for that show. So excited about it. But I wanted to get to this story that I read. Now I was reading some of the blurbs about it, but the latest on the Dolphins comes from this story. Now, take it for what it is. It's from a website called Sportskeeda. But I have heard of the author Tony Pauline before. I know he's been an NFL insider for a wee bit. And he's got some stuff here on the Dolphins. So do with it what you will. I always like to say that we don't dismiss anything. We put it out there, and then we kind of do with it what we will, right? But he has a report that basically says that McDaniel is on the ropes as far as his job is concerned. And he said, less than a month ago, I wrote after just 1 week into the season a lengthy article reporting that Mike McDaniel's tenure in Miami could be coming to a close sooner rather than later. Now, after a horrendous week 5 loss, sources tell me the end is in sight. After the week 1 disaster, the Dolphins lost the Colts. I reported that league sources were telling me that owner Stephen Ross would pull the trigger and fire Mike McDaniel if they were not competitive in their next 6 to 7 games. And since that article, the Dolphins have lost 3-4, winning just a single contest against the lowly Jets last Monday night. Tensions are starting to boil over after the last loss to the Panthers, a game which Dolphins offense combined for just 248 yards. McDaniel admitted during a press conference on Monday that Stephen Ross was, quote, really frustrated. We talked about that a little bit yesterday, talked about it on the radio show, talked about it on this channel. But Pauline says, when could he be sent packing? The same sources that told me Mike McDaniel was on very thin ice after week 1 predict that Ross will wait 2 or 3 more games before deciding on whether to pull the trigger on a head coach. We'll see. But the thing that's interesting about this, the description, I didn't see his original report about him being on thin ice. I gotta imagine that if Stephen Ross thought he was on thin ice after week 1, obviously you're not gonna fire anybody after week 1. You did have the break between Monday Night Football and what happened against the Bills. And to be fair, the Dolphins had 2 one-possession losses. You know, and especially the Bills one, I think it was tough to blame on Mike McDaniel. His team was playing hard for him. And then you win the Jets game. Cool. You get that done. This one is as big of an indictment, not only just on the team and everything that you just feel like it lacked discipline, imagination, adjustments, roster building issues too, but we all saw how Mike McDaniel looked. And while it does seem like the public message has been, hey, we want to keep this very harmonious, we want to keep this cool. Look, even Stephen Ross has got to be a guy. I was talking to my guy Vlad today, and he made a very good point today before the show where he was like, we were talking about the fans, right? And like, this isn't exactly a glamour team that's coming in the Chargers, and it's not a team that has like I mean, they don't even have backing in their own city, so it's not like you're going to have that travel swell that you would for like a Bills, a Jets, anything like that. Yeah, this could be like one of the most empty looking Dolphins games in a while, and those things are hard to ignore. Like, there was a lot of questions this week from the players. I was reading Minkah Fitzpatrick and Jalen Phillips and all these guys saying, oh yeah, we're trying to block out the noise of social media. And you could do that all you want. Tua likes to play that card too. And maybe they do. A lot of them lie about it, but for the ones that don't, the one thing you can't ignore is when you're in your own building and you hear your own fans and how upset they are. And if you're the owner, you certainly can't ignore that. You can't ignore empty seats. You can't ignore probably a third home game of planes flying around if the guys who do that want to throw another whatever it costs $700 at it. And yeah, if they get embarrassed by the Chargers, who probably are better than them on paper, even with their injuries, any one of these games I feel like could be the landmine that he decides to go in another direction. I don't know who takes over. It's not really the point of it, right? I think when you make a move like that, people have said, well, who's going to do it? Who's going to take over the gig? Anthony Weaver, should he do it? It's not like his defense has been great. It's not really a good reason for it. It doesn't matter who really you throw it over, because once you're doing that, you're not doing it to rally the troops. You're doing it basically to say enough is enough, and you're trying to send a message to your fan base. Now, the next thing that Pauline writes is a thing that I think is going to happen that is really going to piss off the fan base. Because he writes, many wonder if general manager Chris Grier will also be cut loose. Sources tell me that they do not think it's a definite that both the head coach and the general manager will be fired at the same time. Now, not that they wouldn't fire him, but that they wouldn't be fired at the same time, which, yeah, I could see the idea that the Dolphins go in the Chris Grier direction in the offseason. But I've been steadfast on this. I still think he's going to stick around. I think Chris Grier is really liked by the owner. He's been with him forever. And I think Stephen Ross is I think that Chris Grier is the ultimate survivor. I think that he could spin to I can't get these guys right. I think he could spin to Stephen Ross that hey Steve, hey man, we were gonna go. We were moving on from Flores. We were gonna go to Sean Payton. That was the plan. This guy was plan B all along, baby. We were ready to move on. Stephen Ross is old. He may not want to go back into the trust tree. Who are you gonna believe? The next Tannenbaum? Like who the hell is Carl Peterson? Like who are gonna be these guys that you really lean on as far as being your football sounding boards, right? So I definitely could see the Dolphins keeping Chris Grier around, even though, yeah, if you're going to do it, do it. And figure whatever it is out. Find who the next whiz kid is. Like, people are comparing the Jacksonville situation a lot. That was a situation where they put Tony Baselli in charge of kind of the whole thing, but he hires that little whiz kid who was, looking a little weird at the press conference. But to be fair, both him and the head coach both had terrible first press conferences, and their team is cooking right now. So maybe there's something to it. That being said, look, whoever the head coach is going to be so the opposite of Mike McDaniel, it's not even going to be funny. Now, this article gives some names, and it says that sources expect the owner to target a disciplinarian type coach with experience in the league. Someone in the Dan Quinn mold. One name that's been speculated is Rex Ryan, which I got to tell you right now, and I mean this wholeheartedly to everybody listening and watching. If you knew tomorrow that their idea to replace Mike McDaniel was Rex Ryan, I would rather sign Mike McDaniel to a lifetime extension than give Rex Ryan a crack at the Dolphins job. I'm dead ass serious about that. I have zero interest in that, okay, with him coming down here. Guy hasn't been relevant in eons. I know what his resume is with the Jets. It was a long time ago. His quarterback caught up in a bit of a pickle because he's not a quarterback anymore. I get that he's gonna, bring the bravado and talking all that crap that he does because he's Rex Ryan. I have zero interest in Rex Ryan. I don't. I don't have a lot of interest in retreads, to be honest with you. There's not a lot of these guys that I've heard, especially the buzzword, like the John Gruden thing, I think is so stupid. I mean, John Gruden hasn't been a good coach in a very, very long time. He's a very good broadcaster. He's hilarious on podcasts, and he was great on Monday Night Football. And, disgusting emails aside that got him fired, even if they were nefariously leaked. No interest in that. Obviously, no interest in Bill Belichick. He's in a complete shell of himself and a bit of an ass clown right now. None of that stuff interests me as well. I wouldn't mind them going in the direction of a first-time head coach again. I really wouldn't. But do they have to go in the realm of like a disciplinarian, a screamer? I brought this up on the show today, and I think the one that actually makes sense is Campanelli, who's having a really good season with the Jaguars. I've mentioned them again. But if you guys don't remember him, he was the Dolphins linebacker coach, Jersey guy, he's got the accent, and he gave this whole speech during Hard Knocks about how the universal language is that was terrible. The universal language is kicking someone's ass. And I was like, oh, and he was, a lot of time at Rutgers and Boston College and Michigan, and then he got the job with the Dolphins for many years, and he crossed over between Flores and Mike McDaniel. He was one of the, kind of those holdovers. And then when Anthony Weaver took over, already found a new gig, and now he's got this opportunity with the Jaguars being their DC. I'm telling you, dude, with the press conferences, if they keep it up, how they're turning over the football, the intensity that guy brings, he feels like he's going to be the buzz guy, like that in-your-face attitude, Coach Lombardi quotes, things like that. He is so ripe to get this job for the Miami Dolphins. It's not even funny. The unfortunate thing is he's probably going to be saddled with Chris Grier as his general manager, so inevitably it's hopeless for him. But that to me, I don't care about the first year head coach thing. I don't think, honestly, Mike McDaniel did a better job when he was more wet behind the ears with the gig. Brian Flores, we all think Brian Flores pretty decent coach. It's as it goes on. I mean, these guys do get into survival mode a little bit. I don't think that experienced head coaches are, I don't think they're immune to that type of stuff. So I don't know. But the Rex Ryans, the John Grudens, the Mike McCarthys, I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me with how uninspired those ideas are just because they have experience. Some of those experiences like literally a decade ago. Especially when they were like John Gruden hasn't had when's the last time John Gruden had a 10-win season? Was it 2007? I mean, what are we talking about? Why? Because he does whiteboards on Instagram. Now, I get that. I'm telling you that I think the lead candidate for the Dolphins is basically off a hard on, but his defense is actually really good in Jacksonville, right? Like they're turning the ball over like crazy. They're swinging games. I don't know. I don't even know if that's like a magic pixie dust for the Dolphins, but that to me would be at least like, oh, all right, I see it. He's he's the opposite of Mike McDaniel. He's not weird. He's not ums and ahs. He's intense, in your face, like got a Mario Cristobal-ness to him. Somebody of that ilk, or go and get the next guru. I'm fine with that too. But this whole you got to go get the retread thing. I am not for that. That does not move me in any way as far as that's concerned. 'Cause let's be honest, guys. Like, I think a lot of these coaches, like every one of these coaches of the Dolphins has had and failed. Even Adam Gase, who I thought was a huge bum. Like, you could see the kernels of like where they were smart football people. Maybe not Joe Philbin. It's just a matter of managing chaos, which the Dolphins always inevitably spin into. They're going to be in that anyway, even if you bring in an experienced person and Chris Grier is here. And, you missed out on Sean Payton. You missed out on Jim Harbaugh. Like, unless Andy Reid is, like, tired of freezing his ass off in Kansas City. And like, would you trade a first-round pick for Andy Reid to come run the Dolphins in his Fat Cat years? I don't know. But from my standpoint, Rex Ryan, ugh. But, it does feel like if the Dolphins get kicked in the teeth and get embarrassed, yeah, any one of these games could be the end for Mike McDaniel. And that's just simply because it just feels like at some point as an owner, you have to make some kind of a statement to your fans. I think the fans are pissed off. Stephen Ross should have at least waited 48 hours as the season ended last year before putting out a statement. He should have listened to that Chris Grier, Mike McDaniel horse bleep press conference after the season ended. And I said this then and I mean it now. I came away from that saying these guys just don't have the answers. They don't know how to fix the situation. And I never feel that with Chris Grier. He says ridiculous things all the time. But I get it. Stephen Ross has a big sense of loyalty. And he never cleans house. This is the other thing. It's always done in parts. Like somebody's always a holdover, whether it even be like a coordinator over to a new head coach. Like there's always a holdover. So whatever path it's going to be, it's probably just going to be fire McDaniel, maybe bring in a new quarterback and start fresh there. And then Chris Grier will be here to inevitably probably set dynamite to, throw dynamite at the whole thing. But I don't think he's going anywhere. The coach, yeah, the GM, somehow he's gonna hold a board. He's gonna cling on to this thing and stick around. And he'll convince Stephen Ross, no, I got the next hot candidate to do this. He's the anti-Mike McDaniel. And Stephen Ross will be sold on it. And as my boy Robbie the Degenerate said, the cycle of doom will likely continue.